Welcome, yogis. I'm so grateful that you decided to join me today. Since I can't be there with you, please listen to your body and make sure that you are moving through the practice today in ways that work best for your body, challenging yourself when that's appropriate, or backing off if that's appropriate. We're going to start today in a modified hero's pose. So you can start like I am with your heels underneath your hips. If your knees are comfortable with hero's pose, please feel free. Or if this is challenging for your knees, try putting a block underneath your hips. While we're here, we're going to just lengthen the breath, feeling the breath roll up our spine, creating lots of length, and then roll back down, creating relaxation. So that as you breathe, sitting in a nice tall position becomes normal and comfortable. Feel the breath expand in all directions, not just in the belly or the chest. Feeling the back ribs expand, maybe feeling the shoulders rise and fall ever so slightly. Continue to breathe, lengthening the breath, practicing that Ujjayi style breathing if you are familiar. If you're not familiar with that breath, you can practice by inhaling through the nose and exhaling out the mouth as if you were trying to fog up a mirror or a window. And once you feel comfortable with that heat in your mouth, gently close the lips and continue to breathe through the nose, feeling that heat and that ha sensation in your mouth. We'll stay here for a few more breaths, just priming the mind and the body for our practice today. On your next inhale, reach the hands up over the head and exhale, fold into child's pose. So you can open up the knees and let the rib cage sink in between the knees, or you can keep the knees together. Go ahead and reach to one side, walking your hands over and stretching through the side body. Noticing the stretch as you inhale, and as you exhale, feel that relaxation. Walk the hands back to center and then over to the other side. Resting your forehead on your knee, or if the knees are wide, maybe the forehead rests on the ground or on a block. Continue to breathe through the side, through the back. That's one reason why I do like to keep my knees together sometimes in child's pose, because it constricts the front of the body and you're really able to feel the breath in the back of the body. Walk the hands back to center. And then we're going to come up onto all fours and take some cat-cow stretches, warming up the spine. Inhaling, arch. Exhale, round. As you inhale, maybe look up, keeping length in the neck, not creasing the neck. And then as you exhale, squeeze with the belly button, creating that space in the back. Tuck your toes and push back to down dog whenever you're ready. You can walk the feet if that feels good, pressing one heel at a time into the mat. Or maybe you want to rock up onto your toes and sink the heels back down evenly. This is especially good if you struggle with pain in the bottom of your feet. You can always come onto the knuckles of the toes as well. When you're ready, step forward, hanging in forward fold. Inhaling to a half lift, and then releasing back to forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands up, reaching tall, exhaling, hands to your heart. Inhale, mountain, and then hook the thumbs and reach to one side, half moon. Back to center, and to the other side, making sure you're using your hip as a counterweight to your hands. Come back to center, and then reach behind you. Maybe look behind as well. Back to center, release the thumbs and fold forward. Inhale, half lift, creating that nice number 7 with the body, and then round back down. Inhale, rise back up, palms to the sky, and then to your heart center. Inhale, reach up, hook the thumbs, and over to one side, stretching out the side body, back to center, and to the other side. Keeping your balance, back to center, and release, dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, relax the head, let the crown of the head hang heavy. And then we're going to gently step back to plank and exhale for our first chaturanga, releasing all the way to the ground, and then coming up into a gentle cobra, warming up the back. Release back down to the ground, maybe the forehead comes to the ground, and then gently push back, down dog. Settle in your down dog. Take a deep breath. And then when you're ready, step back to the front of your mat, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, let the head hang heavy, and then rise up with a flat back, reaching tall overhead and then squeezing the belly button to the spine to come back to prayer. Inhale. Hook the thumbs and reach to one side, making sure that top shoulder doesn't roll forward. Center, and then to the other side. Maybe even bringing your gaze up to the sky. Make sure you can see past the shoulder. Center. Swan dive forward, rounding at the last moment. And then inhale back to that flat back. And this time plant the palms and jump back to chaturanga. You can always step back to plank if you'd prefer. Inhaling, coming up to cobra or up dog, and then exhale, down dog. From down dog, we're going to hop the feet back into forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release. Inhale, rise up. We're slowly starting to build and get a little more flow. Inhale, hands to the sky. Hook the thumbs and reach to one side. Back to center. Other side. Back to center. Release the thumbs and dive forward, hinging at the hips. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release the extension, and again, jump or step back, flowing through your vinyasa, making your way through your back bend and to down dog. This time on an inhale, extend one foot towards the sky, hips stay square. Exhale, bring that foot all the way through and come up to warrior one. Hips are square to the front of the mat. Back heel, back foot at about a 45-degree angle. If your hips are really tight, you can always walk that back foot out a little farther. Otherwise, our goal is to have heel to heel alignment. Release the hands back down to the ground And maybe challenge yourself by keeping that foot lifted as you flow through chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. Opposite side, pick up one foot, hips stay square, reach through the heel, and then exhale, bring the foot through, and come up to warrior one on the other side. And we're just starting to get warm, so if the hip flexor of that back leg is a little tight, be patient, give it time. One more breath. And then go ahead and release the hands to the ground. Step to plank or keep the foot lifted as you flow through chaturanga. Inhaling cobra or up dog. And then exhale, use the abs to transition to down dog. Just one breath there, and then go ahead and make your way back to forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release. And then inhale, rise all the way up. Hands touch and come back to your heart center. Inhale. Exhale to one side. You should be getting much, much deeper now. Noticing the length, other side, all the way from your lat down through your hip, back to center, and release forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release, plant the palms, and jump or step, chaturanga. Inhaling, back bend of your choice. Exhaling, down dog. Inhale, one foot comes up, reach through that heel. Exhale, bringing the foot through and starting with warrior one. On an exhale, we're going to open it up, warrior two. Notice the change in your hips. And you might need to walk that front foot so that it's aligned with the arch of the back foot. Continue to sink deep into the front leg. The deeper you sink, the more you'll open up the back hip. Roll the hands back down, and again, flow through your vinyasa, maybe challenging yourself, keeping that foot lifted. Totally your choice. Find down dog, and on an inhale, reach up with the opposite side. Exhale, bringing the foot through, and starting with warrior one. Find your foundation with warrior one, and on an exhale, transition to warrior two. Really noticing how it feels to transition. You're still opening up that back hip, you're still strengthening the front leg, but it should feel so different when you go from squared to the front and then open. Windmill back down and exhale through chaturanga. Inhaling up dog, exhale down dog. Staying here for just a moment and then making your way back to the front of your mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, round. Inhale, swan dive up. And then hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale to one side, making sure the shoulders stay stacked, center, and then to the other side. If you don't have a lot of flexibility here, back to center and fold, that top shoulder is going to want to roll forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, jump or step and come through chaturanga. Inhaling cobra or up dog. If the arms are straight, make sure the knees are off the ground. Back to down dog. Inhale, one foot up, and then exhale, bring it all the way through. We're going to windmill up to warrior two. Continue to sink deep into that front leg as you reach the back hand down the back thigh. It's so easy to start to cheat and extend the front leg. Try to keep it bent. And then on exhale, we're going to come to a bent-legged triangle. So you can rest the elbow on the knee, or you can reach the fingertips to the ground. But your arms should be perpendicular with the ground. rolling that top shoulder open and reaching tall towards the sky with a floating hand. So there's really not too much pressure on that bottom hand. Come back up to warrior two just for a breath, and then windmill down. Inhale to plank, or keep the foot lifted as you flow through chaturanga, up dog, and exhale, down dog. Opposite leg lifts up, one straight line from hands to heel. Exhale, the foot comes through, and windmill the hands up, warrior two. Make sure you have enough space between your feet so that you can continue to sink deep into the front leg as you reach behind, reverse warrior, challenging that front leg, and then exhale, transition forward to bent-legged triangle. Maybe the elbow barely rests on the knee, or maybe you extend those fingers to the ground. Either way, rolling the top hip and the top shoulder open so that they're stacked and perpendicular with the ground. On your next breath, we're going to use the core to come back to warrior two. Taking an inhale here, and then releasing the hands and flowing down. Maybe stepping to plank, maybe keeping the foot lifted. Either way, transitioning to cobra or up dog, and then exhale, down dog. Just one breath here, and then jump or step forward, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release. And then rise all the way up. Palms come together, and in prayer in front of your heart. Inhale, rise up again. Reaching to one side, feeling the length all down that side, center. Other side, making sure both feet are still planted, center, and then release forward. Inhale, nice long spine. Maybe the fingertips now are staying closer to the ground. Exhale and flow through your vinyasa. Making your way to down dog. And inhale, one foot comes up, split down dog. Exhale, bring it through. Starting with warrior two. Inhale to find your balance, and then exhale, reverse warrior. Maybe reaching behind the body for your hip. You can always support yourself on that back leg if you need it. And then shift forward to bent-legged triangle. And we're going to try a bind here as well. So that top hand reaches behind your back, bottom hand through the legs. Maybe you grab a hold. Maybe you can just hold your clothing or a strap. No right or wrong here. Just keep the shoulder stacked and open. Exhale back to warrior two. And windmill down, back to plank, or keep the leg floating as you flow through your vinyasa. Coming to down dog. And inhaling, picking up the opposite foot. Nice long line. Wrist to heel. Exhale, step it through. And windmill up, warrior two. Take a moment to get set. And then exhale, reverse warrior. Hand behind the back if that feels good. Or keep it supported with the hand on your thigh or your calf, not your knee. And then on your next breath, transition to bent-legged triangle. Maybe trying for the bind. Reach behind your back, through the legs. And once you have a hold of the fingers, make sure you're rolling that top shoulder open, crown of the head in the same direction as your front toes. So you're not collapsing for the sake of the bind. We want to continue to keep it nice and open. Release the bind and make your way back to warrior two. Take a breath and then exhale, flow through your vinyasa. Challenge yourself with that foot raised, or keep it on the ground. Make your way back to down dog. Take a breath and exhale, jump, step, Whatever you need, back to the front of your mat. Inhale, flat back, and release. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Reach tall, maybe a tiny back bend, and then squeeze the core to come back to center. Inhale, exhale to one side, back to center. Exhale to the other side, back to center. Exhale, release the thumbs and dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release, and jump or step to plank, flowing through up dog. Exhaling, squeezing the abs to shift to down dog. Inhale, one foot comes up. Exhale, sweep it through. And windmill the hands up, warrior two. On your next breath, you're going to reverse your warrior again, supported or unsupported, opening up that top side, and then this time we're going to straighten the leg. Release that top side out and over the front leg, and then just gently tilt the hands. Maybe you rest on your shin, maybe you reach for your toes, or maybe you just float that hand right next to your calf, working on strengthening your core. Bend the front leg and come back to warrior two. One breath here, and then exhale, roll down. Flowing through chaturanga, inhaling up dog, exhale, down dog. Opposite side, right away, pick the foot up, nice long line, exhale, squeeze the belly to bring it through, and then come up to warrior two. Whenever you're ready, reverse warrior, keeping that front leg bent nice and deep, and then transition, straighten the front leg, reach the floating hand out and over the front leg, nice long side, even that underside is long, and then just tilt the hands. So you're creating three triangles: the floor in your legs, the floor in your whole body, but don't forget about that little triangle between your bottom side, the bottom of that bottom arm, and your front leg. Bend the front leg and come back to warrior two. Inhale and exhale, release, flow through to down dog. In down dog, we're going to take one breath and then jump or step, make your way back to forward fold. Inhale, flat back, and release. Inhale, rise all the way up, grow tall. Exhale, hands back to your heart center. We are going to transition into some balancing poses. So find your center, ground down, and when you're ready, pick up one foot, reaching the heel behind you, catching the inside of the ankle or the foot, opposite hand to the sky. You can stay there for modified dancer, or you can start to kick the foot into the hand, creating a little bit of space in the back body, and then maybe tilt forward, bringing that floating hand closer to parallel with the ground. Focus on creating that circle of space in the back body rather than just hinging forward. That will actually help you keep your balance. Release and bring the floating knee forward. You can stay here again, or you can reach for the bottom of the foot, maybe stay there, or try extending the leg, making sure you're not locking the standing leg. That leg is strong and straight so that you can balance, but it's not locked, it's not hyperextending. Gently release, maintain your balance, and then drop the floating foot to the ground. Inhale up, exhale, fold, just taking a moment to kind of clear the body and mind and prepare for the other side. Maybe bending the knees, maybe walking the knees out, whatever feels good. Inhale, rise back up to standing. Exhale, create that strong core as you bring the hands to your heart center. And then find modified dancer on the other side. Again, stay here or push the foot into the hand, create that space. And once you feel that you've created as much space as possible, only then should you start to tilt forward and bring the upper body parallel with the ground. You can always do this with a chair if you really struggle with balance, but want to continue opening up the front part of the body. Come back to upright, maintain your balance, and bring that balancing leg in front. Use your core. And then maybe scoop the belly in and reach for the bottom of the foot. Maybe challenge yourself and extend the leg. If you want an extra challenge, try to bring the nose or the forehead to the knee. Easier said than done. If you fall out of it, that's perfectly fine. Go slow, back through the sequences, and try again. So we're going to come back to standing. Inhale up, exhale, fold, and then again. Bend and straighten the knees, walk the knees out, whatever feels good for you. And then we're going to come onto our toes and allow the knees to go wide as we stretch forward. So you'll notice this looks a lot like child's pose, but it's really quite intense on the bottoms of the feet. And it can be on the hips too if you have tight hips. But mostly we're stretching out the bottom of the feet, getting a really great lower back stretch, finding balance. Using the body kind of like a bridge, reaching in opposite directions to balance each other out and remain upright. Go ahead and make your way back to forward fold. And this time we're going to walk the feet wide. Don't be inhibited by your mat. If your feet need to go wider than the mat in order to come into a yogi squat, that is perfectly fine. Let the toes go out if you need to. Make sure your toes and your knees are pointed in the same direction. Hands can be in prayer, or you can hold on to the wrists. Drop the tailbone to the ground and reach the crown of the head up. Lengthen the spine. Let's go ahead and open it up to one side, keeping your tricep in front of the knee or shin. And then maybe try for the bind. That floating hand comes behind the back, grasping with the hand that's wrapped around the shin. Release the bind, open it back up, and then come back to the squat. You can certainly stay in the squat if you want, or you can extend up and try crow pose. Try balancing, squeeze with the core to keep the balance. If you struggle with this pose like I do, you can keep one foot on the ground. Doesn't mean you are any less of a person if you struggle with that arm balance, especially if I had slippery long sleeves on that day. Go ahead and sink back into your yogi squat, finding prayer, gently pressing the elbows into the knees, letting the hips open up naturally, not too much force. And then let's open it up to the other side. And again, you can try for the bind, reaching that floating hand behind the back. The bottom hand wraps around the shin. Maybe you can grab a hold. Maybe you need to hold on to your shirt or a strap. Keep rolling the top shoulder open. Maybe the gaze is towards the sky. Release the bind, come back to center, and gently release the hips towards the sky, coming into a forward fold. Or if you want to try that crow pose again, completely up to you. You can relax in forward fold if that yogi squat was pretty intense on your knees, or you can challenge your core strength and your balance with crow. Everyone comes back to forward fold, and we're going to turn to the side of our mat and heel toe our feet all the way out, as far as feels comfortable. And then release the crown of the head towards the ground. You can keep the hands on the ground for support. You can reach the hands behind you, or you can reach for the outside edge of either foot and gently pull, lengthening the spine and trying to connect the crown of your head with the ground. I will say the wider your feet are in this pose, the easier it will be for your head to connect, but it will not necessarily be easier to get out of the pose. So keep that in mind. There is no reason that you have to have the head connect. So if that is not in your practice for today, that is fine. Inhale, flat back, half lift here. And then release the crown of the head back towards the ground, supporting yourself with your hands as you heel toe the feet all the way back together. Soften the knees and come back into that balanced chair pose. So you're balancing on your toes, the heels are off the ground. Use the core. Hands can stay on the ground, or you can really challenge your balance by bringing the hands up towards the sky. Again, an amazing stretch for the bottom of your feet, especially if you wear a lot of high heels. Release down and come to a seated position. And extend one leg out. You can stay here if opening up the legs wide is too intense, or you can open up both legs. And we are going to ease ourselves forward. So take an inhale, lengthen the spine, and on your exhale, relax forward. So you're not pulling, you're not reaching, you're just using that exhale to sigh and relax forward. Using the breath to open up the inside of the legs and the hamstrings rather than really pushing for it. Go ahead and walk your hands over to one side and try to square your upper body with the top of that thigh. If you can, grab a hold of the bottom of the foot. If not, just grab hold of the ankle and round down so that you're trying to touch the nose not to the knee, but to the middle of the shin. So you're creating length in that fold. Use the strength of your arms here, drawing the elbows towards the ground to get a little more intensity. Go ahead and take that back arm and wrap it to the inside of the calf, and then inhale the other hand up towards the sky and exhale towards your toes. Continue to roll the top shoulder open. Don't collapse that shoulder in order to grab a hold of the toes. If you can't quite reach the toes, continue to focus on just opening up that top side, keeping the shoulders stacked and perpendicular to the ground, using the leverage of that bottom elbow to help roll the shoulders open. Release and walk yourself back to center. And notice how this feels now. Maybe you can go a little bit further. On your next breath, we're going to walk our hands over to the other side. Again, squaring your upper body as much as you can with that top thigh. Grab a hold of the foot or the ankle, or if you have a strap, you can always wrap the strap around the foot, trying to connect belly to thigh, chest to knee, and nose to shin. I know it's much easier said than done, but keep thinking about that alignment as you stretch over this leg. Maybe engaging the arms, pulling the elbows towards the ground, creating a little strength in the upper body while you stretch the lower body. Again, we're going to open it up so that back hand hooks inside the knee or the calf of that leg. Your free hand floats up and maybe over. You don't have to grab a hold of the toes. If you can, make sure that your shoulders stay stacked. And when you look up towards the sky, you can easily see past that top arm. If you can't see past that top arm, then release your hold on the toes and just keep reaching and lengthening that side. Take another breath here. And then release and roll forward into your deepest stretch. Notice how much better it feels now that you've opened up either side of the body. And then we're going to slowly walk our hands in and come back to an upright position. So now that we've done these straddle splits and all kinds of side openers, we're going to try compass. So bring one foot under you, kind of tucking the heel by your hip, and bring the other knee towards your chest. Give it a little rock side to side, nice solid hug. And then you're going to reach the same hand as that leg through and plant it on the ground. And the opposite hand holds the foot as you extend the foot and get a huge stretch both in your hamstring and in your side. Gently release it to the ground and switch which leg is on the bottom. Give your top knee a nice loving hug as though you are getting ready to go into a twist. And then release the hug. And the same hand as that top leg is going to go through the inner thigh, planting it on the ground, tricep to the hamstring, and then extend the leg up while holding on with your opposite hand. So I definitely recommend using a strap here. If you can't quite reach your toes, it will make the pose much, much more accessible. Continue to breathe and release. Uncross the legs, feet go straight out in front. Inhale tall, exhale hands plant about a hand width behind your tailbone and push up into reverse plank, opening up the hips, nice neutral spine, no side bending there. And then make your way to the front of your mat. Plant your feet and slowly roll down. Use all that core strength that we talked about today. One vertebrae at a time, challenging all of the muscles in your abdominals. And then once the shoulder blades touch the ground, walk your heels in and reverse curl the vertebrae off the ground to come into bridge pose. Opening up the hips, keeping the neck long, and then exhale, curl back down one vertebrae at a time. Knees come into your chest. Give yourself a really tight hug, trying to reach elbow to elbow, forehead to the knees. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Pushing all of the blood out of the abdomen, and then we're going to release and reach in opposite directions. Reach with the toes, reach with the fingers. And then walk both the feet and the hands to one side. So you look just like that half moon pose, except you're lying down instead of standing. Last little side stretch. Walk the feet and hands to center And squeeze the knees towards your chest again, giving yourself a nice tight hug, trying to create as small of a ball as possible. Squeeze the belly button to the spine to hollow out some space, and then release, reaching in opposite directions, and then walking both feet and both hands to the opposite side. So again, making that half moon shape on the other side. Go ahead and bring the hands back to center. And one final squeeze. Squeeze as tightly as you can. Flush all the blood out of the core. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then kind of abruptly release. And let all the blood flow back through the abdomen without any kind of restrictions. Find Shavasana and just relax and recover. Let the feet and the ankles roll out. That should feel pretty natural. Let the knees follow. Feel the space between the hip points open. And the belly softly rises and falls as you breathe. Maybe tuck the shoulder blades under if you need to in order to make the shoulders and collarbone and ribs all feel comfortable. And then let the fingers relax. Notice that they naturally curl a little bit. And finally come to the face. Release any tension in the jaw. Release any tension in the forehead or the temples. And just breathe and let the body recover naturally. When you do yoga, you do a lot of compression and release when you bind into different poses, which is really good for wringing out your system. But then you need to lay and let the body be in a neutral position so that the blood can flow through freely and flush out all of those toxins that you wrung out throughout your practice. So Shavasana is really, really important. Don't skip it. We'll be here for a few more breaths. You, of course, are welcome to stay for as long as you'd like, as long as you have time for. Otherwise, we're going to take about 5 more deep, relaxed, natural breaths. Feel free to use these last few breaths as a couple moments of meditation. Just releasing any thoughts, sensations, emotions that may have come up during your practice. Release all of that and just focus on the breath. Again, feel free to stay here as long as you'd like, but if you are ready, you can start to reawaken and come back to seated. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your practice with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.